Mm, yeah. All right, let's get into this. Um, Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ascending Mill, representing my channel. I have some free time now, so you have to make some posts, so why not? Eh? Um, the next video, and the next pillar, masculinity. Again, for the other pillars, them go to my Instagram. I'll put the link in the description so you can see the other pillars that I was making, and the purpose of making these pillars is honestly, I don't believe the classic man is being produced anymore. I really do believe at this modern age will see the fall in a certain masculine principles that aren't so welcomed in society. And I have a little son, he's 7. So my purpose of making these videos and making such a channel and sharing these views that I have is so that that classic man knowledge can be preserved. Eh? My father is an old man. My father was 68 when I was born, right? So I had the opportunity to sit within the elder circle and kind of like understand these fundamental principles of masculinity that were passed on at that time. Sadly, here in 2026, it's little bit different. Men are different, not weak. I won't, but definitely not strong as they were before. The testosterone levels decline is saying that across the world. So, there's evidence to back up what I'm going. The testosterone level is down, and the testosterone actually have men act a certain way, kind of like what I'm going to be describing in these principles. All right. So I think I've done with the free will. I think I've dealt with money. I think I dealt with social mobility. Today, I think we have females and confrontation left to discuss. So today, we're gonna discuss the whole female. All right. So I feel based on the current climate on the internet, I feel some disclaimers are necessary. First disclaimer: women were the first here. I know depending upon your religious belief and what have you, you would probably say, all right, no, according to the Bible, Adam was first. According to science and logic and anything and actual recorded history, no, he was not. He is a product of a female, like all of us. Even if you see in those pictures, he has an umbilical, a navel, he has an umbilical. He's a product of a woman, all right? And again, not challenge any religious views or what have you, but that's the reality. So the first disclaimer is that they were first. The second is honestly, on a biological level, they're way more advanced than we are physically, even spiritually as well. This is the reason why we have tits that don't work, why our penis is just a elongated clitoris and our balls just exterior ovum, eggs, whatever, right? But that's the exterior that we're just we're somewhat like lesser versions of the female, right? The planet was female at one point, so we're lesser versions of the female. All right, so that's disclaimer number 2. Understand that physically, spiritually, she's superior to you. Um, I guess yeah, I'm hearing some dissenting voices right now talking about like, what about the physical advantages that males have, and I'm here to say, yeah, the physical is just one, but that's just for this world, my friend. There's so many other dimensions and so many other worlds the immortal soul go across. And honestly, if I have access to those dimensions, the female, she's well equipped to do this. And that's the reason why in ancient history, the spiritual matters were normally dealt with by the females. There was an uprising, let's say, for lack of a better word. If you want more details on this, I can give you my opinions. I read a few literature about this. But there was like a usurping of the spiritual destiny of the planet by males. The females were doing it. Males decided to take it over, and here you have the society where you have now. Is the reason why like spiritual leaders you see them in gowns, like the Catholic priests will wear gowns. Some looking like a dress because originally the spiritual leaders were female. If you're looking back in ancient Egypt, the Pharaoh, yes, the king, but beside him was always the female, right? And that's the nature of things. That the female, this is her reality. However, she's not equipped for it. So therefore, we were created, right, to help to provide and protect her. So other disclaimer, understand that she's far more advanced than you, and you were actually created to provide and protect her. All right. So with that out of the way, now you understand like the landscape of how the female is and what is expected. Let's get into this now. As how does this factor into you being on the king's path, and how choosing the right mate actually makes all the difference in what you're trying to build. Because being on the king's path, you're deciding not to be the traditional male. You're deciding to be a sovereign person in your own right. Meaning, yes, I may exist in this society, but the way I develop, the way I acquire assets, the way I build out my resources, all towards being more self-reliant and being almost like an autonomous tribe within whichever state you are, right? Um, Personally, the goal would be like something like how the Maroons have it, where they have their own autonomous states and have what they're doing. But um, failing that, we can develop ourselves as sovereign men, where we look to our own finances, we take care of our own resources, we provide our own security, we build our own dreams, right? So that's like the guiding light behind the king's path. So selecting the right mate to work with while you're on the king's path is paramount. It's this can make or break you. And to recover from something like this, it's right. And oh, one more disclaimer before I continue. What I'm saying here pertains to actually acquiring a mate for marriage, actually selecting a female to be a partner for life and to provide you with the biological offsprings that continue the DNA lineage that is within you now. The memories, the abilities, the special skills of all your ancestors are within your blood. You have a biological mandate to ensure that that is passed on. Many ancestors had to fight, kill, to survive to this point where you're at in the greatest peace ever on the planet. If you go through history, you see that history is violent. So you're living through the most peaceful time in human history. Well, this recent human history, right? So you have a responsibility to ensure that those genetics get passed on to the future that is coming. Whatever destruction is underway, whatever golden age is underway, you have to ensure that your DNA is passed on. The information that you have is passed and it's necessary for human continuity. What you know is important to the whole. No one is insignificant. Everything that you do on the planet goes towards the whole. So each man and woman have a biological mandate to ensure that they pass on the genetics that the ancestors blessed them with. So this is for marriage, not no hanky panky sleeping around and what have you. Now, but let me speak to this because this is indeed the hookup culture is kind of like what's going on now, and not judging anybody for participating. However, it damages both females and males. It damages females in that they won't be able to fulfill the bonding, the chemical bonding necessary to actually have successful marriages. And for males, well, you're just not going to be tolerant or patient with a female, my boss. It will be what you're used to. You can't train your brain to have these short term relationships and then think that you can switch it up and then have a long term one. It doesn't work like that. And I'm assuming that's why most men are remaining single, but actually like when they actually make a move. So keep this in mind. The partner you choose is so paramount. It's gonna make or break you. So biological objective, as I mentioned, you have to pass on the genetics that you were blessed with. There's a series on Netflix now. I think they call it Travelers. Excuse me. There's a series on Netflix on travel, and there was season where one episode where they mentioned the archive, and the archive, when you actually saw the archive, was a blood bank. The blood, the memories, the abilities, the Solomonic lineage, whatever you may call it, all of that is in the blood. And this is why you have this biological objective to pass it on, because if you do not, that knowledge will be lost from the earth forever. That knowledge will be lost for humanity forever. All the ancestors that you had, all of that information will be lost if you are not able to reproduce, because we do not live forever. So this is the biological objective that you, as a man on the king's path, you have other kings before you have made the sacrifices, agreed to the stratagem, fought the war, defended against the aggressor to bring you to this point. You have a responsibility to ensure say all of those abilities, skills, all of those hardships that were faced, all the information stored within your blood is passed on to the future where it will be necessary, right? So that's the biological objective that all men and women have. So with that in mind, you have to choose a mate as a man. But I can't speak to the females. I've out of my depth there, but for men, you have to pass on. Many men, only 40% of men throughout history have reproduced. So if you are here, your father was part of that 40%, and if you're not part of that 40%, you'd have failed him, because he had made a sacrifice to make sure that he was in that 40% of men that reproduce over throughout history. And you're not doing it, you would have failed all your ancestors. And again, that really depends on if you believe in that sort of thing. But if you believe in nothing, well, right? So that's the biological objective. Now, another point that I want to point out when it comes to women, men actually drive the whole relationship thing. Men actually want children more than women do, and it's a very simple reason. From an ego standpoint, men want their line to continue. They want this information to continue. They want all their efforts that were built in this lifetime to continue and benefit the generation that is to come, which is why most men of means really sought and took great attention to their children, the person that they choose, and their children. Marriage was a way to ensure that you can pass on all of this wealth, all of these gains, in a one way where no contention, there was no fight. You just inherit you married with a rival family, someone who who's likely to actually help you with the goals and dreams that you might have. So the responsibility to have children usually in past was driven by men. Now in a society where it's so expensive to have children, you'll find men stepping back as the economy now favors the whole feminine agenda. So men aren't making the amount of money that they were. The labor market is not as good because there's more people in the labor market, not just men anymore. There's men and women. So the whole economic framework has changed, resulting in men stepping back from wanting children because of the expense. And I have to say, for men in my generation, as opposed to men past, we're really serious about with children. No, I can tell, growing up in the 80s and 90s, it wasn't so serious to the whole absent father thing. But now I think in Jamaica, every man's serious about the youth now. So I guess that's why I see that reduction in numbers. We can't keep making broken homes. Right? Your future depends on this child, more quality over quantity, if you may. But the whole quantity thing is another problem. The whole population crisis, but we can talk about that one next time I talk about Queens now, right? So men were the person who drive the whole need for children and legacy and that sort of thing. And because our whole society has set up now, we kind of step back from that. So in choosing your partner now, right? Let's just get to the meat of the matter. We rambled a little bit. Let's choosing a partner now. Understand, in my humble opinion, women comes in two forms, right? There's a wife, and then there's a whore, right? Now, and I have no other name for it. Let's not say whore. Let's say the worldly woman. Then. So you have the wife and the worldly woman. All right, both are important, and hear the descent already. Now, yeah, we know what the wife is, but let me explain to you the worldly woman. The worldly woman is extremely productive. If you have any plans to make any sort of moves in the business world, corporate, entertainment, any sort of move where people are going to necessarily are going to need to build a network, the worldly woman is invaluable. So don't think that you can build your life without them. You absolutely need both. All right, one for you build your life and your legacy, the other to build your business and your wealth. So I personally think only one is truly good in terms of like choosing as your partner. Um, and this is a wife because this person now is somewhat raised on the same values that you're trying to develop at this moment. To be a worldly person, you cannot have these values, not in a firm type of way, because persons with values such as this, they tend to either be higher in society or very low, because your values are just so uncompromising, right? So they're either at the top of society or at the very bottom in terms of that, because their beliefs and everything is everything to them. They will not compromise it. So this is the person that you would want to choose as your partner, because you're also a person who don't compromise and won't compromise your values. So I personally feel that yes, the wife is the person you would choose to deal with this. Now, this person that you choose can have prior children. And let me explain why. Again, we mentioned about the blood, right? There's this term called microchimerism. All right, you can look it up on Google. But basically, like every time a female is with a mate, she retains the DNA of that male, all right, for the next 27 years. So chances are, if the girl has a child already, your DNA will be mixed with the mate's DNA from the previous child, and your child will have features of the previous mate. That's they call it telegamy, I believe. So this is why, yes, if you're like building on the king's path, as I mentioned, the choice I made, she can't have any prior children, because this will taint the same records I'm telling you about. Now, an argument can be made for DNA mixing, all right, because during slavery and us here in the West, that's kind of like probably why Jamaica has so much amazing physical specimens, because of the DNA mixing. So there's an argument can be said for DNA mixing. But in terms of like preserving your records, this is paramount, right? So right, so yeah, right. So the microchimerism and telegamy. Now understand, this person who you have choose, your reputation is at stake. All men will judge you by the mate that you choose, the person you choose to give your name to. So this is not a decision that you can take lightly, and I'm hoping that some of what I've said can probably like give you some insight towards that. Give me some responses in the comments. Let this be a discussion. Cause I might be wrong with some of the things. Let me hear what you think. But the risk to your reputation and name is astronomical. You won't recover from this. Not with men who consider you being able to discern your mate, being as equal to be able to discern business deals. You will not recover from this. So the choice of your mate is absolutely paramount. So with that in mind, welcome to manhood, and choose wisely.